Speaking in front of the press in person today, President Yoon named five-term lawmaker Jung Jin-seok as his new chief of staff and former ruling party lawmaker Jung-hoo as his senior secretary for political affairs. Eyes are on what the president will be discussing when he meets the main opposition leader Lee Jae-myung this week. North Korea fired this afternoon what appeared to be ballistic missiles into the East Sea multiple times, just 3 days after it tested a super-large warhead for a strategic cruise missile. There seems to be little sign of a breakthrough between the government and the medical circle, as doctors refuse the government allowing flexibility with the medical school enrollment quota increase for 2025 and want no increase at all. In the meantime, a special presidential committee on medical reform is set to be launched this week. It's April 22nd, 2024. This is Newscenter. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. We start with new appointments at the top office nearly 2 weeks after the parliamentary election. Speaking in front of the press in person, President Yoon announced new names for his most senior aides for political affairs. He pledged to be more open with the public and the National Assembly. Our correspondent Oh Soo-young has the story.
President Yoon has vowed to better handle communication with the public and the opposition, as he named a new chief of staff and senior political secretary following the recent general election defeat for his ruling party. Speaking to the press on Monday, Yoon announced five-time lawmaker Jung Jin-seok as his most high-ranking official on political affairs, citing his 15 years of experience in journalism, followed by various roles in politics, including National Assembly Deputy Speaker. Chung also served as former President Lee Myung-bak's senior secretary for political affairs. Unlike his predecessors with bureaucratic backgrounds, Jung Jin-seok's political experience is expected to help the administration reform its style of handling state affairs by improving public and political engagement. Yoon also named a new senior secretary for political affairs, Hong Cheol-ho. He cited the two-term lawmaker's experience as an entrepreneur of a large food franchise, saying Hong is expected to communicate well within political circles and pick up on public sentiment.
지난 2년은 우리가 이 나라를 어떤 나라로 만들 것인지에 대한 어떤 콘텐츠를 저희가 디자인하고 지금은 이제 지난 2년간 저희가 세워놓은 것을 어떻게 더 국민들과 소통해서 또 고칠 거는 고치고 국민들의 어떤 동의를 더 받아낼 수 있는지 또 정치권과도 대화를 해서 또 어떻게 이것을 현실화시킬 수 있는지 이제는 그런 점에 좀 주력을 할 생각입니다.
The president's first press briefing this year, and months since his impromptu interview days with the media, comes days after he acknowledged the need for stronger communication. Upon his ruling party's electoral defeat, the leader last week apologized for failing to reflect the wishes of the people, saying he had been the first to fail in communication. After inviting opposition leader Lee Jae-myung to the presidential office this week, Yoon on Monday did not specify any agendas, but hinted he would like to discuss how to work together to improve people's welfare. Lee, meanwhile, has hinted he will propose handing out 250,000 won for all Koreans as a welfare policy, which has triggered concerns over fiscal stability among his critics. However, a consultation to arrange the meeting between the top office and the Democratic Party of Korea was cancelled on Monday. While the opposition called it a unilateral move, it appears the top office decided the consultation would be more appropriate after the new political aides were appointed. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
North Korea launched what appear to be multiple short-range ballistic missiles into the East Sea this afternoon. The latest provocation comes 3 days after the regime test-fired a super-large cruise missile warhead and a new anti-aircraft missile. Our defense correspondent Chim In-jung reports.
Another missile provocation from the north. Seoul's Joint Chiefs of Staff detected what's presumed to be multiple short-range ballistic missiles at around 3 p.m. Monday, launched toward the East Sea from the Pyongyang area. The missiles traveled around 300 kilometers. Monday's launch comes 3 days after the regime's test launch of a super-large warhead designed for the Hwasal-1 Ra-3 strategic cruise missile and the test firing of a new anti-aircraft missile on Friday. Around 3 weeks ago, North Korea also test-fired an intermediate-range hypersonic missile, which are banned under UN Security Council resolutions. The military said it has strengthened surveillance and vigilance in preparation for additional launches and is closely cooperating with the US and Japan to maintain a full readiness stance. The JCS strongly condemned the launch, calling it a provocation that seriously threatens peace and stability on the Korean peninsula. South Korea's military is closely looking into North Korea's provocations as the regime is widely anticipated to launch its second military reconnaissance satellite this month. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has again made an offering to the controversial Yasukuni Shrine. South Korea was quick to express deep disappointment. Our correspondent Kim Jong-sil has more.
The Japanese government once again provided a familiar explanation regarding the offering made by Prime Minister Fumio Kishida on Sunday to the controversial Yasukuni Shrine.
I understand that the offering was made in his capacity as a private citizen and that it is not a matter on which the government should express its opinion.
While adding that it's only natural to show respect to those who sacrifice their lives for their country, the Japanese Chief Cabinet Secretary also said something that shows Tokyo is aware of the protests from Seoul and Beijing.
There is no change in Japan's policy of continuing to strengthen relations with neighboring countries, including China and South Korea.
Regarding the offering, the South Korean government was quick to release a statement on Sunday. The Foreign Ministry expressed deep disappointment, saying it was regrettable that responsible leaders of Japan have once again made offerings to or visited the Yasukuni Shrine, which glorifies Japan's wartime aggression and has enshrined war criminals. The Chinese embassy in Japan also released a comment on Monday, saying Japan's behavior was an affront to historical justice and hurt the feelings of people of the victim countries, and that Beijing was firmly against this. Both Seoul and Beijing urged Tokyo to face historical facts and show genuine remorse for the past through actions. Yasukuni Shrine in central Tokyo honors 2.5 million Japanese war dead, including 14 Class A war criminals from World War II. Prime Minister Kishida has never visited the shrine in person since his inauguration in 2021, but has instead sent offerings. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
The lower chamber of the U.S. Congress has voted in favor of a bill that pledges crucial aid for Ukraine amid its fight against Russian invasion. The bill is expected to clear the upper chamber in the days ahead. More weapons could be transferred for Kyiv by the end of the week. Kim Bo-kyung tells us more.
The U.S. could begin transferring more weapons for Ukraine, including long-range Army tactical missile systems, by the end of the week, once President Joe Biden signs the bill that recently passed the House. This is according to U.S. Senator Mark Warner during an interview with CBS News released on Sunday. His remarks come as the U.S. House of Representatives approved a $61 billion military aid package for Ukraine on Saturday, after months of delays and political infighting. The legislative package includes security assistance not just for Ukraine but also Israel and Taiwan, with some $26 billion for Israel and a little more than $8 billion for Taiwan. The legislation is to proceed to the Senate, where proceedings are expected to begin on Tuesday. President Biden has urged the Senate to quickly send the package to his desk so that Washington can send weapons and equipment to Ukraine to meet its urgent battlefield needs. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed gratitude for the passage of the bill and urged the U.S. to minimize the time between political decisions and actually providing the military aid to Ukraine.
The time between political decisions and inflicting real defeats on the enemy at the front, between the approval of the aid package and providing the strength to our guys, this should be reduced to a minimum, and this strength is what is truly needed to change the situation at the front.
While saying the aid will give Ukraine a chance at victory, He further underlined its need for long-range weapons and air defense to not lose people on the front line. The U.S. has previously delivered ATACMS missiles to Ukraine, but it only provided older models with a range of 165 kilometers instead of new variants with a maximum range of around 300 kilometers, which have so far not been provided to Ukraine. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
South Korea could soon officially become a multicultural nation by OECD standards, with 5% of its population comprising foreign nationals. And that could continue to rise fast amid the nation's aging population and low birth rate. So is enough being done to better accommodate them as the country continues to rely on them to maintain productivity? Kim Do-yeon sat down with an expert at the forefront of policy shaping for foreign residents of South Korea.
The number of foreigners with the E9 non-professional working visa has grown fast, with around 165,000 issued in 2024, especially as the productive population declines. The country will continue to need more of these workers, but unless it acts now, this is not going to be an easy option. That's according to Professor Kim Seok-ho of Seoul National University, who leads a special subcommittee on co-living with foreign workers under the Presidential Committee for National Cohesion.
Japan and Taiwan, just 5 to 10 years ago, had very strict policies on foreign workers. They had conservative policies towards them, but that all changed. With this comparison, there's not much time left for South Korea to gain an advantage over these countries in hosting foreign workers, as the country is now competing with others for a quality foreign workforce.
This ongoing special committee is already the third one on foreign residents, with 4 specific goals in mind. A more customized workforce supply system and a means to attract and cultivate overseas talent, among others. To achieve this, different suggestions will be considered, including a comprehensive statistical analysis.
We think creating a database with the Justice Ministry to check on who comes in and out of South Korea when it comes to the workforce would be useful. But in reality, South Korea doesn't have any comprehensive data on foreign workers.
Even President Yoon Suk-yeol emphasized that the country lacks measures to take care of its foreign population, saying past governments had so far put off the responsibility for this as he attended a meeting of a special committee on this. This is deemed significant considering that it's Yoon's only visit to a special committee.
또 불합리한 인식이면 국민들의 그 생각이 좀 바뀔 수 있도록 변화를 또 이끌어내고 그렇게 해서 국제사회 어디에 내놓더라도 부끄럽지 않은 글로벌 중추국가로서의 그 역할과 그 위상에 부합하는 그러한 정책을 저희가 가지고 있어야 된다고 생각합니다.
In fact, that's one of the most important duties of the subcommittee. National Cohesion Committee Chair Kim Han-gil said foreign workers need to be part of a, quote, new us as he inaugurated the special subcommittee.
Please explore ways to not only view immigrant workers as mere tools of labor, but as new members of our community who can work and grow together as a new us.
Professor Kim said it's impossible for the subcommittee to come up with answers to all the problems that foreigners face to make their lives in South Korea better, but the new us aspect should certainly be one of the top priorities.
It's not just about forcing immigrants to adapt to living here. It's equally about us adapting to them.
The subcommittee will run for another 2 months and then report its findings during its 100 days of operation to the president. The point of this special subcommittee, Professor Kim says, is to make sure that citizens are included in the process of coming up with good answers. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
There seems to be little sign of a breakthrough between the government and the medical circle over the medical school enrollment quota increase. In the meantime, a special presidential committee on medical reform is set to be launched this week. Moon Hye-ryun has the latest.
With a continued stalemate between the medical community and the government, the Health Ministry is focusing on emergency medical care. Second Vice Health Minister Bang Min-soo, in a briefing on Monday, stated that private doctors with their own practices can now apply to support local hospitals without needing their applications to be approved by the local government, but just directly by the hospitals themselves. The Health Ministry also addressed growing concerns over medical staff shortages following the resignations of medical school professors. The notice period for resignations generally tends to be a month, meaning the mass resignations submitted by medical school professors in solidarity with the junior doctor walkout would be due to hit this Thursday. The Vice Health Minister explained that owing to contractual details, there is no need for concern yet, and he urged professors to come forward for talks.
There are currently no resignation forms submitted to universities that are due to take effect. Government is doing its best to talk to medical school professors. He asked that they come forth to give their opinions instead of taking collective action.
On Sunday, the deans of 40 medical schools across the country submitted a joint statement demanding that the medical school admissions quota for 2025 be kept as is without any increases. The Korean Medical Association and a group of medical school professors all backed this statement, along with junior doctors taking the stance that no dialogue with the government can take place without the topic of a medical school quota freeze on the table. This comes just 2 days after Prime Minister Han Duck-soo announced that the government will allow each medical school to freely decide the number of students that can enroll for 2025, allowing schools to independently recruit between 50 and 100% of the previously suggested increased quota. As the need for conversation between the two sides grows, a special task force is due to launch on Thursday. The task force, made up of 6 government officials and 20 non-government officials such as experts and representatives from doctors' groups, will discuss pivotal issues in the government's plans for medical reform. But the Korean Medical Association has rejected this call for talks, saying that the purpose and organization of the task force is not concrete and that it feels its opinions will not be heard. Junior doctors, the key personnel who have been staging mass walkouts, have not yet confirmed whether they will be sending representatives to the task force meeting. Even if doctors refuse to participate in the task force meeting this week, the government plans to push ahead with the task force. Moon Hye-ryun, Arirang News.
President Yoon has pledged to make groundbreaking changes in preliminary feasibility studies in R&D so that researchers can get a head start in their work. At a ceremony for Science and ICT Day on Monday, Yoon highlighted the global competition to secure technological sovereignty and lead future markets, pledging R&D support to make South Korea a first mover in advanced technology. Yoon promised to make the country one of the top 3 global powers in science and technology by 2030. He said he will achieve this by focusing on R&D investment in the 3 major game-changing sectors of AI semiconductors, advanced biotechnology, and quantum computing, alongside strategic cooperation with allies. South Korea's exports for the first 20 days of this month rose slightly on the back of robust semiconductor and U.S.-bound shipments. Data from the Korea Customs Service on Monday show that the value of exports rose around 11% compared to the previous year, hitting $35.8 billion. Should this trend continue for the rest of the month, it'll mark the 7th consecutive monthly rise in outbound shipments. Exports of chips, one of the nation's key export items, saw a double-digit rise from last year. And by destination, exports to the U.S. surpassed those to China, continuing a trend from the previous month. Time now to take a look at what's been happening in the world of sports. Joining us in the studio is our sports editor, Pauline. Hello, Paul.
Evening.
Evening. Let's first start with baseball. Jung-hoo has made a great start to life in Major League Baseball. What can you tell us about his latest exploits?
Well, I can tell you is that a hitting streak of 11 matches is the longest ever by a South Korean rookie in MLB. On Saturday, in the San Francisco Giants' 7-3 win over the Arizona Diamondbacks, he went 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs scored. The hit that made it 11 matches, though, was actually a home run, his first at Oracle Park, but his second in MLB. With the score at 1-0, he hit a 92.8 miles per hour fastball over the right field wall. The win made it 2-1 to the Giants, but then a 5-3 loss on Sunday restored parity in this 4-game series. He joined the Giants on a 6-year contract over the winter from KBO club, the Kium Heroes.
What an encouraging start. And moving on to golf now, I understand that 3 Korean stars has secured places in the top 10 of the first LPGA major of the year.
Yes, you're quite right, including Yoo who finished 5th for her best ever result at an LPGA major, the Chevron. She finished at 9 under 279 at the club at Carlton Woods in the Woodlands, Texas on Sunday. At one point, Yoo held a 54-hole lead but carded 4 bogeys and 2 birdies in the final round, nudging her out of contention. Still, it was her best finish at a major, bettering 8th at the US Women's Open last year. Meanwhile, rookie Im Jin-hee finished 8th at 6 under and Kim Ah-rim finished tied for 9th at 5 under. Former world number 1 Yoo So-yeon also took part, her last match ever before retiring, but failed to make the cut. Nelly Korda was the winner, her 5th straight win in LPGA.
And moving on to football, South Korea's Olympic team has taken one step towards Paris 2024.
Yes, it has. That's because a 2-0 win over China on Friday means a place in the knockouts of the AFC Under-23 Asian Cup. Now, the tournament serves as qualification for the Olympics, with Korea needing to finish in the top 3 overall. But a brace from Lee Young-jun meant it was 2 wins from 2 with no goals conceded heading into tonight's match against Japan at 10 p.m. Korea time. Lee Young-jun scored a late winner in the first game against the UAE. Korea are top of the group, but only as a result of getting 1 yellow card fewer than Japan. Should Korea top the group, they will face Indonesia, a team that's led by Shin Tae-yong. Second means they will face hosts Qatar.
And finally, sticking with football, it's the AFC Champions League semi-final second leg this Wednesday. Ulsan are involved. Yes,
they are indeed. They have a very slender 1-0 aggregate lead over Yokohama F. Marinos from Japan. That was earned thanks to a Lee Dong-kyung goal in the first half of last Wednesday's first leg in Ulsan. The win also sealed Ulsan's place in the 2025 Club World Cup on rankings points. Another positive result on Wednesday would secure a second ACL final in 4 years and potentially open the door for Jeonbuk to also join them in the Club World Cup, with how the qualification system works. The overall tie is on a knife edge, though, with Ulsan's very slender lead. Both teams had the weekend off with their league matches rescheduled to allow them more time to get ready for this huge clash. The game, played at Nissan Stadium in Yokohama, kicks off at 7 p.m. Korea time.
Fingers crossed. Thanks for that, Paul.
Thank you.
The skies a bit cloudy across the country today. Even with cloudy skies, daytime temperatures rose in the central region and Seoul. On the other hand, cool weather has continued in the East Coast regions due to easterly winds. Tomorrow it will be cloudy in Seoul, but it will be cozy with warm temperatures. Tomorrow there is rain forecast mainly in coastal areas of Gangwon province and the southern parts of the country. Up to 40 millimeters is expected on the southern coast of Gyeongsang-namdo province by the day after tomorrow, and 5 to 30 in other areas. Tomorrow morning, Seoul, Gwangju, and Busan will start off at 13 degrees Celsius. Daily highs will be topping out at 23 in Seoul, Chuncheon 20, Gyeongju 16 degrees Celsius. After it rains across the country on Wednesday, temperatures will gradually rise again later in the week. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session up next.